All right, everyone, let us talk about something that hits close to home for a lot of us, especially in our 20s, why so many of us feel financially stuck or worse, completely broke. And let me tell you, it is not always about being lazy. It is about chasing those shiny, tempting shortcuts. I have been there, done that, and got the t-shirt, a very expensive tee. Shirt made of all my lost money. I have seen this whole quick money thing with my own two eyes because, let us be honest, fast money, it feels incredibly exciting. The adrenaline, the dream of instant wealth, it is intoxicating. And everyone, myself included, thinks that they will be the exception, the one who cracks the code, the one who actually gets rich quickly. But here is the brutal truth. Almost nobody is the exception. The house always wins in the long run, and we are usually the ones paying for the renovations. That is why, looking back at my own disastrous journey, I can confidently say that in your 20s, the smartest thing you can do financially is actually the most boring one. Yeah, I said it, boring. It is not some secret trading strategy or a meme coin that will moon overnight. It is about consistently stacking investments, focusing on growing your career, living well below your means, and patiently giving time for compound growth to do its magical thing. Because trust me, in 10 years, you really do not want to look up and still be broke or even further behind. All because you were busy chasing the latest hype. It is a much better feeling to know you are steadily building real wealth because you stayed disciplined, you stuck to your plan, while everyone else around you was gambling away their hard-earned cash. So in this video, I am going to dive deep into why most guys, like my younger self, end up broke in their 20s, the specific traps I personally fell into and that you absolutely want to avoid. And by the end, I will share the actual, albeit boring steps you can take to build genuine, lasting wealth. Let us jump into the first part, this pervasive desire for fast money that seems to grip so many of us in our 20s. A lot of guys, myself included back then. It felt like we wanted to skip all the sensible, boring steps. You hear all the wise old heads talking about investing for 30 years, and a part of you, a very impatient part, thinks, no, I am not going to do that. I would rather get rich quickly. I mean, who wants to wait for decades? When you can make a fortune in months, right? The problem with this mindset, and I learned this the hard way, is that almost every single get-rich-quick strategy out there is meticulously designed to extract money from people who think exactly like that. They prey on our impatience, our greed, and our desperate hope for an easy way out. And some of the most common traps that I and many others have stumbled into are things like options trading, day trading, sports betting, and especially chasing those ridiculous meme coins. All of these things on the surface, yeah, they sound absolutely fantastic. Oh my gosh, if I just put, let us say, $100 into this meme coin and it goes up 100 times, then I am going to make a ton of money. I will be set for life. Or if I just hit this crazy 10-leg parlay, I can turn $10 into $80,000 just like that. The narratives, the fantasy, it is incredibly powerful, but the harsh, undeniable reality is that a vast majority of these situations do not actually build you real wealth. They are incredibly low probability scenarios. I mean, extremely low. And you are simply not going to be the exception to those odds, no matter how many times you try to convince yourself that you will be. Because at the end of the day, it just boils down to math and statistics, and those numbers, believe me, they do not work in your favor. This is not how you build genuine, sustainable wealth. So, let us start with the first rabbit hole I personally fell down, and many others do too: options trading and day trading. Now, this is all within the realm of the stock market, trading options and day trading stocks directly. It can seem incredibly exciting, and the core idea on paper is deceptively simple. You buy low, you sell high, and then you just repeat it over and over. But here is the thing, a crucial piece of information I completely overlooked. You are not trading against random beginners on Reddit who are just figuring things out. You are trading against full-time professionals, highly sophisticated algorithms, and massive hedge funds, managing billions of dollars. And nowadays, you are very likely trading against incredibly powerful computers and AI systems. So it is unbelievably difficult, almost impossible for a retail trader like me or like you to actually find an inefficiency in the market and successfully exploit it before a massive program has already detected and capitalized on it. The harsh truth here, a truth I had to swallow after losing a significant chunk of my savings, is that most retail traders, and I mean most, lose money. In fact, studies consistently show that over 90% of day traders quit within 3 years, and they quit because they are consistently losing money. To be brutally honest with you, I do not even believe in day trading as a viable path to wealth for the average person. I have yet to encounter a professional day trader who genuinely does very well from actual trading and does not conveniently sell an online course about how to day trade, because in reality, they are making their money from selling courses to aspiring traders, not from the actual act of trading stocks themselves. It is a subtle but critical distinction. And when it comes to options, another painful lesson I learned, most options contracts actually expire worthless. It is almost like the house, or in this case, the market makers, always wins. The volatility of options, the rapid ups and downs, it is incredibly addicting, I can attest to that. But so is a casino, and that should tell you something. There is a very similar kind of psychological logic at play. When it comes to the dopamine and serotonin rush you get from trading options, as well as day trading, it is very much like putting $100 into a slot machine. You pull the lever, you lose money, you keep losing money, you keep pulling. Convinced the next one will be different, and then before you know it, you are down to $50. Then, all of a sudden, you hit a small win, maybe $25, and you feel this rush, this fleeting sense of victory, like you have won. When in reality, you started with 100 and now you are at 75. It is a loser-esque game over the long period of time. Plain and simple, and options and day trading definitely unequivocally fall into this category. The next thing that I have seen a lot of guys, including my past self, fall headfirst into, and I really started noticing this phenomenon during my senior year of college, and it has absolutely exploded in popularity over the past couple of years, especially if you watch NFL on Sundays. The commercials are everywhere, and that, my friends, is sports betting, and this one is particularly insidious because it is marketed as this fun, harmless, exciting thing to do. Sports betting apps, they shower you with incentives, free plays, odds boosts, flashy promotion, all designed with one singular goal in mind, to hook you in and get you to bet more and more and more. But here is the cold, hard truth, the unvarnished reality. A sportsbook company makes billions of dollars every single year precisely because the average bettor, like you and me, loses. You might snag a few small wins early on, giving you a false sense of confidence, making you feel like you are good at this, like you have an edge. But at the end of the day, the math always catches up to you, and your expected return over a long period of time is pretty horrible. I saw a very personal example of this at my previous job. One of my coworkers, he came up to me one day knowing I was interested in stocks and investing, and he looked genuinely defeated. He literally told me, "Man, sports betting has been kind of kicking my ass the past couple of months." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean? Did you have like a massive bet that you placed recently that did not hit? Or what happened?" And he was like, "No, it is not even that. I just keep doing small bets, $20 here, $50 there, $100 on that game." But I finally sat down and realized I am losing about $1,000 a month. And I remember my jaw dropping. I was like, oh, wow, because at the end of the day, I think he was making around $100,000 a year. So he was effectively losing $12,000 a year on sports betting. He was not even seeing that money. And that is $100,000 pre-tax. So after taxes, that $12,000 represents an even higher percentage of his take-home pay. I remember telling him, why do not you just stop sports betting? But it is not that easy, is it, when people hit for $500? That one big win after a string of losses, they are hooked all over again. They are reeled right back into the system, convinced their luck has turned, and yeah, they may win that $500. But they often end up betting another $1,000 and losing all of it, and then some over time. Sports betting is just brutal. I have only sports bet a few times in my life, and always with very small, insignificant amounts, like $5 or $10, and I have almost lost every single time. So, at the end of the day, when it comes to Vegas and the highly intelligent statisticians who work there, those betting lines are set with incredible precision. It is very difficult to consistently do well sports betting long term. Even if you think you know a guy who is good at sports betting, you probably do not. You are probably only seeing their wins. The highlights, never the extensive losses. I know a lot of people who do this, they only trumpet their victories. And the worst thing about sports betting too is how incredibly addicting it can be. That is one thing I have also noticed firsthand. I know a couple of people who have been sports betting for years, and they literally have nothing, absolutely nothing to show for it. So that is something you want to absolutely avoid. Even if you love sports. Betting is not investing, it is just gambling with a really cool, slick app interface. Like I said earlier, it is no different than going and sitting down at a casino, hoping for a miracle, and you are probably not going to hit that 12-leg parlay. And even if by some cosmic fluke you do hit it, you probably will have spent so much money before that finally hits, to the point where you are still in the negative overall. So please stay away from sports betting. I am telling you guys, it is not worth it at all. The next category of financial quicksand after sports betting is meme coins and highly speculative investments. These are things like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, and countless other random pump and dump cryptos that pop up daily. And here is the important distinction. The problem is not crypto itself, at least not entirely. I believe Bitcoin and Ethereum, for instance, have some legitimate use cases and potential for long-term investors who understand the technology. But the real problem is that there are so many guys out there who just blindly throw cash at the next hyped up coin, convinced they are going to get rich overnight. Oh, hey, if I put $1,000 into this one, and if it goes up 1,000 times, then I am going to be super rich. This is going to be absolutely amazing. The dream again is powerful, but in reality, 99.9% of these never hit those astronomical returns. And even if by some miracle they do hit, most people are not putting enough money into them for it to genuinely make a life-changing difference. But again, the odds of this are extremely, extremely low. And beyond the odds, the psychology of it all can get pretty brutal, like even if you put $1,000 in. And that somehow goes up by 100 times, right? So you have turned $1,000 into $100,000. At what point do you sell? Because you just went from 1,000 to 100,000. Your mind is probably already thinking, well, how can I get to 200,000 or a million? And so the psychology of holding on to these highly volatile assets is very similar to day trading and gambling. Once you are up, how do you know when to get out? Meme coins are especially brutal in this regard. In fact, it seems like most of them are just like kind of scammy pump and dump schemes where some clever insider or group will trick a bunch of unsuspecting people into buying into a certain crypto, inflating its price, and then they rug pull them, meaning they suddenly sell most of their holdings, which then causes the coin's price to plummet, leaving everyone else holding the bag. I deliberately stay away from meme coins and highly speculative things like that because a lot of times these coins are usually controlled by insiders or early buyers or massive whales who own most of the outstanding coins or shares of like the meme coin basically. So by the time you are hearing about it on TikTok or some other form of social media, it is already too late. You are on the exit side of things, meaning that the coin is going to be dropping pretty quickly and you are buying into someone else as profits. And if your entire financial plan is based on a coin that is named after a dog or a frog or a random internet meme or just anything similarly frivolous, you are probably not investing again. You are just gambling. I even have another vivid example involving one of my close buddies when I first moved to this different state a couple of years ago. This was around March of 2022. He had moved a few months before me and he has always been that type of guy, always who just goes for the fast money. He is perpetually trying to find the shortcuts the easy way. He could never just invest consistently, save consistently, or live within his means. He is always borrowing money, always trying to chase some massive boom or bust opportunity, hoping for that one big hit. And at the end of the day, it has been a couple of years now, and he has absolutely nothing to show for it. He does not have a lot of money in his checking or savings accounts. He does not have some massive investment portfolio that is steadily growing for him. He just has nothing to show for all that chasing. And at first, he was kind of making fun of me for taking the slow and steady route, the boring route, but then he looked up a couple of years later, saw where I was and where he was, and went, damn, okay, your method is working and mine is not. And the funniest and perhaps most frustrating part about all this is that he still does not listen to me. He is still going for it. These boom or bust things. It is like he realizes what he is doing is not working, but he is unwilling or unable to change what he is doing. It is kind of like that definition of insanity, doing the exact same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. And so it sucks to see it really does. But at the end of the day, hopefully he eventually learns and turns things around. But, that is just how it is. You cannot control other people. And at the end of the day, all you have to truly worry about is yourself and your own financial journey. So let us talk a little bit about why these traps work so effectively. All of these things, whether it is day trading or sports betting or meme coins, they play on the same fundamental human weakness, and that is impatience. A lot of guys in their 20s, I feel like myself included back then, we feel this immense pressure to succeed quickly. It is like, oh, I need to do really well. I need to be worth a certain amount by the time I am 25 or by the time I am 30. I need to make a certain amount or I need to have X amount in a certain account. That way, I have a lot of money and I am doing really well for myself. I am successful, but there are very few guys that I know, and I do not know why it is like this, that truly understand the profound concept of delayed gratification, and it is really, really important that you grasp this. Because if you can just think even 3 years out or 5 years out from now, you can put yourself into a very, very successful financial position. And it is not going to happen overnight. No. It requires consistency, it requires discipline, but you can absolutely reach your financial goals if you commit to that path. If you are constantly trying to turn $100 into 1,000 week in and week out, you are just wasting $100 most of the time. Like 99.9% of the time, you are just throwing money away. And so the impatience that a lot of guys feel, that is one of the key psychological weaknesses that all of these, different traps exploit so well, because people feel immense pressure to turn $5 into $10,000. So they will go try to trade options, or they will go buy a meme coin, or they will go sports bet and put a crazy 10-leg parlay down or something like that. And so that impatience is what really kills people financially. And again, you just have to be disciplined, be a little bit patient. I am not saying you have to wait 30 years to become rich. You can absolutely become rich in a 5 to 10 year period if you work pretty hard and smart. But falling for these traps will not get you there. It will only slow you down, or worse, set you back over a long period of time. Another weakness that these traps really capitalize on is chasing excitement over discipline. So Yeah, it is incredibly exciting when you manage to turn $5 into $100. That rush is undeniable. But then when you gamble that $100 away and it goes to zero, you still lost money at the end of the day. Like, it is basically, if you look at an expected return chart of gambling, you will see that you may start out and you may do well at first, or you may have these little bumps where you are making a little bit of money. Those small wins I mentioned earlier, but long term, and the more you do it, the more money you are just going to lose. Consistently, it feels good to take a shot to maybe double your money in a day. The dopamine hit is real. But in reality, most people lose far, far more than they ever win. And that, in a nutshell, is why so many guys stay broke in their 20s. So let us shift gears and talk about what actually builds wealth. Like, if these traps do not work, and believe me, they do not, then what does? And here is the boring reality of it. Building wealth, real wealth, comes from steady, consistent habits. It does not come from flashy bets, from Hail Mary passes, or from hoping to get lucky. It is about the diligent, often unglamorous, consistent execution of a few core principles. So, here are some key habits that I believe, through my own mistakes and subsequent learning, that you should absolutely develop to become very wealthy over a 5 to 10 year period. The first one, and this is absolutely foundational, is living below your means. If you make $50,000 a year, but you spend $50,000 a year, you do not really have any extra money to start, working for you and building wealth. It is a zero-sum game. You have to create a surplus. So you absolutely have to live below your means and gain strict control over your expenses. Do not flex your money and go buy a brand new car when you genuinely cannot afford it. Try to avoid those soul-crushing car payments. Try to avoid